All right, recording. And we are live. I will go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the City Council for June 5th, 2023. All council members present and accounted for. The invocation and pledge of allegiance will be led by Councilmember Williams.
Lord, we just thank you so much, and we are very, very grateful that you've brought us here together to do the people's business of Maumelle. We thank you, Lord, for this beautiful place that you've allowed us to live, work, and play. And Lord, we just do not take it lightly, and we are very humbled by the fact that you have placed us in this position, Lord, to do this work. Give us wisdom in this work. Give us wisdom in the decisions that we make tonight. Give us wisdom and a spirit of kindness in our conversation. And we ask you, Lord, to please be with the people who have survived the house fire in the Millwood apartment complex. We know quite a few are displaced, and we ask you, Lord, to look after them, take care of them, meet their needs, give them your best. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Somebody stole the flag.
Where is it?
It's at the fire department, I think.
Pull one up on the...
That's funny.
We do have a flag outside. The flag post.
Look outside.
We'll use that. Don't worry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Expect the unexpected, huh?
Gotta be flexible.
Next order of business is the approval of the May 15th regular meeting minutes. You all received a copy of that in the council packet. If there's no discussion on that, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion second.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir?
there was one slight error in there. Under the tree board appointment, we have Councilmember Williams making a motion, and then she also seconded it, as according to the minutes. We just need to, that's a minor one.
I'm pretty sure it's Councilmember Shin that seconded it.
Sounds good.
I need to adjust it.
Okay. So it's going to be adjusted to show that Councilmember Shin seconded the motion. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the May 15th minutes with the edit, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Councilmember Mosley. Next order of business is public comment. We don't have any public comment cards. Planning Commission report is Councilmember Shin. The floor is yours, sir.
It was a fairly brief meeting. They had 3 points that they talked on. One, old business, where they were having a discussion about public notification requirements. They had new business. The Rockland edition was being discussed, and the one we'll see tonight is Cypress Bend at White Oak Crossing Phase 2.
Thank you, sir. That brings us to procedural motion. At this time, I entertain a motion to have all ordinances and resolutions read by title only.
So moved.
We've got a motion. Do I hear a second? And a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We have no unfinished business. That brings us to new business. The first item of new business is the Civil Service Commission appointment. We have 2 applicants at this time. We can just take them in that order. First up is Sam Williams, and then the second is John Jones. Mr. Jones, if you wouldn't mind stepping out, can't force you to, but I'd appreciate that. Councilmember Williams?
Yes, sir, I will be recusing myself from this vote.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, if you could please state your name for the record.
I'm Sam Williams. I live at 200 Bay Point Cove, Unit 201, here in Maumelle.
Thank you, sir. If you could take a minute to, the city council members do have your submission in the council packet, but if you'd like to take a minute to introduce yourself to the city council.
I wouldn't. We've done this before. I'm certainly willing to answer any questions you might have or concerns, but I have been instructed to be brief, so I will be brief. I'm looking at you, Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I was actually surprised this was on the agenda for tonight. I was telling Mr. Williams that before we came in. The only thing I've got is the same thing I had last time, was I'm a little concerned about conflict of interest, but I did note that you have recused from the, there's an ongoing thing right now, so I applaud you for that. But that's the only problem I've got. I respect your service to the community as police chief and wish you well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Councilmember Holt?
Good evening, Chief. You know, it's sort of like when our secretary reads the introduction to the ordinances, it's by title only, but so that's how much I know about the civil service. So I would ask you in general, just a brief outline, what departments and what is the main purpose of a civil service? And even people that are listening on TV, what do you do?
Yes, sir. The Civil Service Commission is a commission designed to help provide oversight for the police and fire department, which are civil service commissioned officers, everyone except the police and fire. Well, the police chief may be. I don't know how that works before he comes through the ranks. But we provide civil service rules in accordance with state law. We provide guidelines. We provide the civil service component of promotion tests for sergeant, lieutenant, and captains, and of course the police chief. I think they have a minor role in that, and we have a minor role in interviewing and talking to the police and fire officers that have applied and gone through the promotion process. We also hear the appeals processes. If an officer or a firefighter is suspended, he has the right to appeal that chief's decision to the Civil Service Commission, which we hear that, and it's somewhere between a hearing and the Civil Service Commissioner will act somewhat as a judge with a lot of guidance from the city attorney, and then we make a ruling, which can also be appealed to the circuit court level.
If there are openings in whatever area, how do applicants apply? Do they apply directly to you? Or does it go through the fire and chief of police first and then come to you, or how is that?
On a applicant first entering employment, they apply through personnel who they administer a test, then the police department or fire department does their background check, then they submit that list the list is submitted to personnel brings it to the Civil Service Commission, and we authorize the list to be certified, and then the police and fire chiefs pick from that list as they choose in a rule of three, and they pick who they think would be the best candidate. We don't have a role in the entry level other than certifying the list.
Is there a scheduled meeting every month, or is it at random?
No, sir, it's a monthly meeting.
Okay, once a month.
Yes, sir, and then again during the promotion season, then we will also meet and interview police officers, candidates, and firefighter candidates.
Excellent, I appreciate it. Thanks,
Yes,
thanks,
sir.
Chief.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. You may have a seat. Mr. Greeland, if you could get Mr. Jones, please. Mr. Jones, come on down. I know you've never done this before. If you could take a minute, introduce yourself for the first time ever to the city council.
No problem. You guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
John Jones, 4 Hogan Drive, resident of Maumelle, Arkansas for 7 years. I'll probably refrain from the personal introduction. I think you guys seen my resume a couple times, and you know this is, I guess you would call it the third commission or second time. One thing in my reading of this particular commission is very important. Obviously mandated by the state. Obviously a situation where you're working hand in glove with HR, the city, fire, and police. Very important. This commission's main function, to my idea, is to protect the interests of the city, fire, police. But ultimately is the public. Ultimately are the rank and file police officers. One of the major components of this position, which hopefully you don't have very often, is the appeals process on lengthy suspensions, demotions, and things of that nature. One of the most important things working on a commission like this before at Central Arkansas with scholarship renewals and things for athletes, it's very important to be above reproach. Very important to have a public citizen that will take the interests of individual police officers and the public. Very easy to hire, great experience. If I'm looking to be a coach, it'd be great to have 20 years experience, walk right in, no big deal. But one thing you guys have the opportunity tonight, right now, is to vote a newcomer into it, new blood. That's one of the problems a lot of times we have in government is we're afraid to bring in new blood. So this is you guys' opportunity to bring in new blood, try something different. I absolutely will put the effort in. You know I'm going to persevere. You know I'm going to read the documents, the 27-page document, the 2 amendments, and the guidelines. So you guys have nothing to worry about there, but do we have any questions or anything of that nature? I hope you make that decision.
Any questions? If not, thank you, Mr. Jones.
Appreciate you for your time.
Y'all should have received a ballot on your desk. Please take a moment to vote. Make sure that your name is legible, as these are a matter of public record. It'd be very much appreciated. While the council members are doing that, I thank both of the applicants, who I know have both come multiple times before the city council. It's always nice when we have quality folks wanting to serve the city. It must be the high pay of this position, which for those that don't know is precisely $0 a month. All right, we do have a individual that received 5 votes, so congratulations, Sam Williams. I appreciate that. Mr. Jones, please, please, please continue to come back and persevere. I am fully confident that you will be a huge asset to the city at some point in time. Thank you, sir. With that, that concludes that agenda item. We'll move on to Resolution 2023-21, approving a preliminary development plan amendment. Madam City Clerk Treasurer, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2023-21, a resolution approving the development plan amendment for Phase 2 Cypress Bend at Maumelle Crossing.
All right, this is a preliminary development plan amendment. Mr. Grummer, you could just give the council an overview.
Scott Grummer, 550 Edgewood Drive. Yes, Mr. Mayor. So this is Phase 2 of Cypress Bend, which was previously approved Phase 1. The main changes in this is that before there was a couple of alleyways that were designed in the original plan. Those alleyways have been taken out to make it more easier maintenance for the city. They've also increased the number of lots by 17 lots, and they've reduced the lot size from an average of 50 to 55 feet wide to 42 and a half feet wide. Those lot sizes are very comparable to the subdivisions that are being built right behind it by Rosh Coleman in North Little Rock. So Planning Commission approved the plan contingent upon meeting engineer review of civil plans.
Thank you, sir. Is there any discussion on Resolution 2023-21? Councilmember Mosley?
Yes, sir. Was the approval unanimous? I missed the actual meeting.
Yes, sir, it was unanimous.
Unanimous, okay. Yeah, the problem I've got with it, I voted against the last iteration. I guess this is the 5th iteration of this neighborhood. And my biggest problem is the lot sizes keep getting smaller. I have always hoped that we could keep everything over there on the north side of the boulevard, bigger lots, bigger houses, and that sort of thing, kind of consistent with what's already there. But I noticed North Little Rock's putting in a lot of smaller things, and has, and I'm going to vote against this tonight just because I don't want to see the lots smaller. One of the commissioners, if I remember at the subcommittee meeting, actually asked, are we going to have people parking in the yards by making these lots so small? And so I'd rather see lots bigger here. In fact, I may at some point talk with you and see, I may put forth a ordinance at some point for a minimum lot size for single-family dwellings, and the purpose is I'm worried about traffic. I still continue to be worried about traffic in this city and people being able to get in and out. Right now, it's flowing pretty good. I just don't know what it's going to be like 5-10 years down the road if we're going to be in another gridlock. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any additional discussion on Resolution 2023-21? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second to adopt. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no.
No.
Motion carries. With that, we will move on to the next agenda item, which is Resolution 2023-22, amending the 2023 General Fund Budget. Madam City Clerk Treasurer, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2023-22, a resolution authorizing a pay increase for Maumelle police officers.
Thank you very much. Y'all know how much I dislike mid-year budget resolutions. And in fact, in reality, this is not a budget resolution. We are not requesting that the 2023 budget be amended in any way, shape, or form. The police department is so understaffed at this moment that this pay increase will be fully covered by the current approved budget. That being said, it would increase the budget for next year. Hopefully it increases it. And I say hopefully because if the department continues to remain so understaffed, then it might affect the budget but not the actual numbers. So we're hoping that we get to a point where it does increase it. The reason this is coming mid-year, I'll let Chief Pickard explain here a little bit. This is something that he and I have talked about, is we are quickly approaching a critical stage with staffing. This is not a problem unique to Maumelle. It's a problem faced not only in the county, but the state, the region, and the nation as a whole. as what we're seeing is a decrease in individuals entering and remaining in the law enforcement field. Effectively, there's a mad dash between cities where we're basically just fighting for a limited pool of employees. I won't name the city, but I was having a conversation last week with a mayor of another city in this area-ish, and he mentioned that they were about to increase their salary by $5,000. I told him, I said, you guys probably don't need to do that. You just hold tight and everything will come around. And he looked at me and said, are you guys increasing them? And I say, I hope so, and I'd rather you not increase yours because I don't want, we have to get ahead somehow. So with that, we did give you some of the numbers from an April 26th memo, as well as that memo from Chief Pickard, that really show the state of where we're at in a little bit of painting a picture of where we think we will be if we do not continue to take action. Chief Pickard?
Council members, I dearly hate having to come to you and ask for this, but just to put it to you bluntly, we have got to increase the salary if we intend to hire any officers for this city. There are benefits to other cities that I've outlined in my proposal here that we just don't have, one of which is affordable housing for officers. Currently, we have the second lowest, I believe, second lowest starting salary in Pulaski County. Pulaski County technically starts below us, but they are hiring their officers in at $50,000, which is their max for their officers or their deputies. And if you're looking to get into law enforcement, $41,000 is going to be the lowest. Everybody else is going to be anywhere from $48,000 to $51,000 a year. And we are all offering the same benefits package for the most part. Again, the housing is something that we cannot offer that other cities can with the Neighbor Next Door program. But let me tell you how dire this is. Last year, y'all voted to increase the department by 2 officers to give us 40 allotted slots. That is still much smaller than the department needs to be. A city of our size should have approximately between 50 and 56 officers. We have 40, and I cannot staff to 40. Currently, we will be down, as of July 1, it appears that we are going to be down 14 officers. That will give us 26 officers to protect this city. We currently are running a skeleton staff in our investigations unit just so that we can keep officers on the streets. The main priority right now has been patrol, keep the visibility and the boots on the ground and the wheels turning in the city. I don't know how much longer we'll be able to do that. I've lost 2, well, I got a bit of good news that I shared with the mayor last week, that one of our officers who was going to Fayetteville withdrew his application with Fayetteville. But as soon as I heard that news, I get another phone call that one of our sergeants has dropped their papers to leave us and go to a federal law enforcement. With that being said, even with increasing the salaries for all ranks, officer, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, so not my rank, I want y'all to understand that this is not me, this is everybody below me, $5,000 increase would stay within the current allotted budget and would help our officers tremendously by at least the council showing how much they value the officers and what they are giving up in order to be here. We have a great department, and we always have. We've got a culture at this department that is like no other. And I would like to be able to, instead of picking up the scraps from other agencies that are seeking applicants, to being able to pick and choose, so that we have something in the game that allows us to say, look, come to Maumelle. These are what you're going to have. Currently, I was speaking earlier with North Little Rock Chief, the Sherwood Chief, the Jacksonville Chief. Currently, our cooperation has been like it has never been in the past, even the Little Rock Chief. We all came up together, but North Little Rock is, they typically have 88 officers assigned to their patrol division. They're in the low 60s currently. So this is not just Maumelle that is facing this crisis. It is across the nation. When the mayor allowed me to go to the FBI Academy in the fall of last year, one of the things that kept coming up was recruiting and retention. We're not winning this battle. We're vilified in the media constantly, and to steal a line from the Little Rock chief at a luncheon that I was attending with him. You do not see teachers vilified the way that you do police officers. You will, every day in the news, you will see a teacher or another profession that has a pedophile, or they're arrested for this, they're arrested for that, but they are not vilified the way that police officers are. This is a trend that is continuing, and even if we were to increase this, and again, this is a start. This can't be the end point. A lot of times that's what tends to happen is we get a start and then we fail. I have Bryant just got me their pay scale, and they're looking at 4% increases over the next several years. North Rock's pay, you don't even want to hear it. Even my proposal would put us below their starting salary. They start at 48.2, and a 10-year officer can be making $79,000, almost $80,000 a year. So I hate to say that out loud because I hope that none of my officers are listening to this council meeting and go, wait a minute. But I pray that y'all look over this, understand the quandary that we're in, and vote for it.
Thank you. I want to add a couple things. This recruiting and retention issue, we're not just treating with a money issue. We've been looking at internal policies that make our department more competitive, whether that's the gear or the equipment or the provisions or grooming standards or any number of things internally, as well as programs and really working on morale within the department. I was talking to Chief Buford earlier today, who reminded me of the fact that they're looking with police to maybe hire a civilian recruiter or something along those lines that can really get in and start trying to target recruiting. We have been tackling this more from the communications department and the mayor's office in terms of trying to make sure that we're getting media out there, that we're really approaching this differently than we have been, up to the point that when people apply to come take the Civil Service Commission test, we're now to the point that we're giving phone call reminders. You know, don't forget about the test tomorrow, don't forget about the test next week. We're exploring different ways to really try and, when someone applies, to really kind of grab them and grab their interest and try and bring them in. Because a lot of times what happens is if somebody signs up to take a test through the Civil Service Commission, that test is offered technically once a year. I think we're now running about every, like 3 or 4 a year, it feels like. But they're applying everywhere. They're applying to departments all over the place. And so we're looking at how we can make it more attractive. We're not just looking at money as the only solution here, and I don't think it will be a cure-all, but it's also, in my opinion, a minimum requirement to even remain competitive. Also, one thing to consider is there's a pretty big lag time from the time that, let's say that the council approved this tonight. We're going to start advertising that. The next test is?
Next Wednesday, I believe.
Next Wednesday, so it wouldn't even really grab the extra recruits by next Wednesday. It might make them want to choose us as opposed to another agency. We start marketing that. They take the test. They go through a fairly extensive background process, all before they get to pick up for academy. They go to academy for 3 months. Then they go through FTO training for, field training officer, field training, on-the-job training for another 3 months before you have that extra person on the floor. It is my belief that we need to take action before we have a problem, because there's a 6 to 9 month lag time from the time we encounter a critical moment to where we can get a brand new rookie in a car on their own, right? And really no offense to rookies, but I think Chief would say he'd rather have an officer that has a few years under their belt as opposed to a rookie. So we have to take action before things get critical, which moves that timeline forward, if that makes sense. So with that, I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion and or questions. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I've got one question for you, Chief. We had 9 officers leave between April and 22 in April of 2023, and then anticipating another 6 through the remainder of 2023. Did we gain any officers during that 1 year period, and are we anticipating gaining any for the
We
remainder?
gained 3 officers, but they're not counted as viable options until November. That is when they're currently in the academy now.
Okay.
They're approximately week 4, sorry, I was looking back to get confirmation. I believe they're in week 4, so they still have an additional 8 weeks of training and then an additional 12 weeks after that of field training officer. And that's hoping that they get it during the first 12 weeks and don't have to go into remedial training.
Okay, these are all rookies, I assume?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you having trouble attracting, are we losing some of the top levels like lieutenant and captain and that sort of thing?
We are starting to see that, yes, sir. Originally, there was a captain that was supposed to retire. He has since rescinded his letter, but I've got a sergeant that just retired for medical reasons. That retirement was last Wednesday. I've got now another sergeant that is going to the VA, federal law enforcement, and then I've got a lieutenant that's leaving us to go to the VA. And they're both getting raises, even after I've been here 19 years on the lieutenant.
Okay.
And on our last test, we had 48 applicants apply. In the past, what our ratio tends to be is 50-50. Half will show up for the test, half will pass. This past time, we had 48 show, 13 took the test, 12 passed. When we called up the ones who didn't come out to test, I believe it was 8 or 9 that went to other agencies here locally because of the pay. They ended up not even coming to test with us.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like we've got a supply-demand situation for the whole central Arkansas is really what it sounds, or perhaps the whole nation.
It's nationwide, yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Mayor, was this the year of the salary increases? Seemed like was it this year or was it last year?
The bigger increase was last year.
Okay.
And then they had just steps this year. I don't think we had an adjustment
No, sir.
this year.
Oh, okay.
So when I say steps, they had every year, unless they're at the end of their step, they'll go from, officer 1 to officer grade A to officer B and C. So they get a pay increase, in the step, but we didn't adjust the pay scale this year. The big pay jump was went into effect last year.
2022.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, what's this going to do? Are we going to have other departments coming in looking for pay raises, fire department, and that sort of thing?
I think always we'll have other departments coming in. I think though, that,
I guess, in other words, is this pretty much limited to the police department?
I think
the supply-demand situation?
The fire, and Chief Buford is here, the fire department is not seeing the same level of recruiting and retention issues. And Chief Buford, if I'm speaking incorrectly, feel free to chime in. They're not facing the same sort of critical problems that the police department is. I think more or less they tend to be fully staffed or in the process of hiring with an active list. Chief, with that regard.
Bo Buford, 2000 Murphy Drive. I do want to say this, that we are not facing this currently, but we are also facing all the cities around us are doing exactly the same thing what Chief Pickard's talking about. North Little Rock just did, they have a matching, so if you have 2 years of firefighter experience, they're jumping you up to 50-something thousand. Benton just raised their starting salary to 51,000. So we're seeing it too. We just don't have the effect yet, but it's coming. So it may not affect us this year, but it is gonna come. So I absolutely want to support the police department. They are in critical need, and so I 100% see where Chief Pickard and the officers that we have, but we cannot be short-sighted and not look in the future that at some point this probably will affect the fire department as well. I just wanted to make sure that that was said.
Good, thank you.
Did you have anything further, Mr. Mosley?
No, I'm always interested in anything Mr. Mazzoni might have to say as far, he watches the numbers and our sustainability and all this stuff and see if he sees any red flags in this regard.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Gardner?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Chief Pickard. I spoke with him earlier this morning. He took some time to answer some questions for me. A couple of things that I thought about, and Mayor, I appreciate what you said about looking at other internal things that you can do to make it an attractive job. One of the things that I see in my day-to-day business with what I do with benefits management, employers nationwide, and I'm speaking more regionally here, that's where most of my business is, but they are struggling to hire and retain employees. And so employers are always looking for ways to make their job nicer. We want to have a nicer workplace than another. And they try to throw benefits at them or time off, vacation, things like that. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever your side you're on here, it always comes down to people will make decisions based on where they can get more pay. No matter what you throw at them in terms of maybe a better benefit option or more vacation time. I've had clients lose employees over 50 cents an hour where they will go to a competitor for a 50-cent an hour raise, and then they have come back to this employer because they found out they charged more for their health insurance. So it was, but people will chase that salary number no matter what other benefits are available. And I agree we have a great workplace and we've got great benefits that we offer, but Chief Pickard and Chief Buford eventually is going to face this, but I think the police department is just at this point where it's difficult to attract candidates, and Chief Pickard mentioned that. We only got 13 out of 48 to show up for a test, and so, as I mentioned to him today, it's like an arms race in between cities to try to catch up and recruit and retain. I think retaining is just as important as recruiting. You'd rather have that 2, 5, 10-year person, working for you than a lot of rookies. And then in terms of the numbers, I shared this with Chief Pickard this morning as well. I went back and looked at the budget through April, and they were $280,000 in expenses below budget. And so that's only going to get wider as the year goes on because they can't fill their positions. So while this is an increase, they're going to be below budget for the year. And then I told him earlier, I said, I hope you can be fully staffed next year. I don't expect them to be, but I fully hope that they could be. So even if this is seen as a budget increase, it is, but I have never, since I've been here, I've never seen the police department really many departments hit their budget in terms of expenses, especially when they're struggling with staffing right now. So there's just a few thoughts, the financial side a little bit, but mainly employees they want to go to wherever the salary is the best starting off, and that's a very difficult position that Maumelle is in to try to find somebody to come work here. So.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Holt?
Thanks, Chief. The raise that we're giving, how many officers does that accumulate? Just the 26 officers, or how many is it planned for at that raise? I mean, in other words, what is our budget really offer for the total?
In my numbers, forgive me, let me find it real quick. This accounts for all officers that we currently have when I looked at not going over budget in this cycle. And then I even included in my proposal the anticipated salary budget needs for 2024, and that's also, if you'll look, it's on page 3 of my proposal under salary says 2024 anticipated salary budget needs is 2.8 million, an increase from this year of 200,000. That would be with all positions filled plus an additional 2 positions, bringing us to a 42 person department. And in 25, I again included all of the officers that we have plus the positions, and included an additional 2 officer positions, and also took out loss of 2 dispatcher positions and 2 senior dispatcher positions, which will go in 2025, mandated by Arkansas state law, over to the new 911 communications center. But I will have to, at that point, increase my civilian staff. It's not an increase, but it is. It's a shell game almost. I'm going to lose 2 senior dispatchers and 2 dispatchers, but I'm going to have to create 4 records clerk positions at least in order to handle warrants and other things that'll come with no longer having a dispatch center. But I tried to include all of that into this proposal.
Right. It's been a couple of years. I think I've already related this maybe once, but I was in Conway in my truck, and it's been a couple of years ago, and it was high noon, and I was at Skyline and Harkrider, major 12 o'clock traffic. My truck broke down and got it out of the way. An officer showed up, and we talked and went over to the side of the street. He waited for me until the wrecker came and got me. But the point was that he made some kind of a statement about maybe looking for another job or whatever. I said, we got a $2,500 bonus if you'll sign in Maumelle. And he said, well, if I could make in Maumelle what I make here in Conway at $55,000 this year, he said, I already live in Maumelle. And he said, but I cannot live on $42,000 a year. So I had to shut up about that. But Mr. Mayor, I've already shared with you that I'm not real popular in the group where we're talking about, okay, everybody, give you a chance to throw stones at me. If it comes down to something like this, or jogging trails, or pickleball, or whatever it is we do in recs, which do we want? Nice recs, or do we want safety and quality? And these people that are out there, I go to work, leave my house at 4:30 in the morning, and it's still pretty dark. And I see our officers out there, and they're watching, and 2 of them even followed me till I drove into the gate at work the other day. But that's all right. They had the reason to check, so it's fine. It's not, for me, it's not a matter, can we afford it? It's can we not afford it? If we have to do something to the budget, to me, this sounds like a crisis, and here it is in our laps, and I know at least this will pass, but do we need to go a step or 2 beyond? Put it on our conscience and do something. It's for our city, but it's with supporting those men and women who give everything when they're out there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Mazzoni?
Yeah, first of all, I hate that, like you said, the police are being vilified today. I've lived in 13 different cities, and Maumelle Police is the best I've ever seen, so I want to keep that. To answer your question on the total numbers, with the difference, in the budget will look big on forecast because we fund for 100% manning. Even if we get a net of about 6 positions to get to 80% manning, we still won't spend what the budget was this year. So, and if it's over that, great. We'll figure out, like Councilmember Holt said, figure out how to prioritize. But I would be surprised. I'd be happy if we could get more than a net gain. But
we're forecasting anywhere from 2 to 4 years if we could get fully staffed.
So this is going to be a long term. So it may look more on paper, but I don't see this impacting our future budgets over what was actually allocated for this year on that. So we do need to keep, you're seeing this otherwise. And I do think in budget season it's going to have more looking at this because we're in the middle of an inflation cycle. First part, prices go up. We get a lot of sales tax revenue. Then that starts curbing up and everyone's else will need some raises to make up for it. Won't be as critical as the police, so we got to keep that in priority. So yeah, this is definitely something I think we need to do.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Tierney?
Yes, I agree with Councilmember Holt and Councilmember Mazzoni. Probably the most important asset of our city is our employees, our police, and our fire. I mean, it's more important than any physical thing in the city is the people. And I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-22.
Second.
Got a motion and a pair of seconds, I believe. Thank you, sir. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mazzoni and Mr. Holt. All very wise comments. Thank you. I usually will not support a mid-year budget resolution unless it's an emergency, but this is enough of an emergency, in my opinion, to go ahead and do this. So I'll be voting yes on it. And it's a supply-demand issue, the way I see it. So, and when you've got lack of supply, and you've got to throw more money at it. That's how economics work. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there any additional discussion on Resolution 2023-22? We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you all. That brings us to the next item of business, which is Resolution 2023-23, amending the 2023 General Fund Budget. Madam City Clerk Treasurer, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2023-23, a resolution to amend the 2023 General Fund Budget.
Thank you very much. This one is a budget resolution. The council may recall that $253,000 was approved in the budget to upgrade existing body cameras and in-car cameras, as well as replace all the in-car computers. Now that it's time to make those purchases, Chief?
Once again, I hate having to come to you mid-year to ask for more money. We budgeted $253,000, which would have carried us over had the quote from September of last year been able to be honored. 2023 saw quite a bit of increase for the equipment and the installation. And one of the problems that we face is with that quote, we could have their first or second generation cameras. Is that second? Second generation cameras. However, a third generation is coming out, and I do not want to waste the taxpayer money on buying antiquated equipment right off the bat, knowing that we will end up having to replace it. With that being said, this is $49,700. With the equipment that we currently have, we have so much equipment broken that it will take us about $30,000 for, what is it, the 5 cameras, 5 in-car cameras. Just the in-car cameras, not including body cams. Each body camera is around $1,000 to $1,200 a piece. With the system that we currently have, which again is antiquated, and we're starting to see major problems since another company bought them out. We do plan to recoup some of this money because there are other agencies that are in a position that they can't get rid of the old body camera system. Our largest neighbor to the south is one of those that is locked in because they have so much of the equipment. So we are planning to sell to them and to other law enforcement agencies in order to recoup some of the cost of this increase that was unplanned.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion? I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2023-22.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that matter? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
With that, that concludes new business. Under mayor's comments, some what I ultimately think is good news, but it is, we had out for bids the White Oak Crossing roundabout, and so that went out for bid. We had the bids. I'll tell the fun story. We know that construction projects continue to come in over bid. I've yet to see engineer's estimate that remotely is close to the actual bid price. We had approximately $1.9 million budget. That's not all city money, that's 80% Metro Plan, some of that is North Little Rock money. But we knew going into opening the bids, we had about 1.9 million. As long as bids were at or about 1.9, we had a project. If we got bids at 4, we didn't have a project. So the first bid that was opened was for $2.61 million. And I slowly exhaled and said, well, maybe that was just a high bid. The second bid came in and it was at $2.57 million. And I said, uh-oh, what are the chances we're off that much? The third bid thankfully came in at $1.98 million. And then ultimately the fourth bid came in at $1.2 million. So we were happy to get 4 bids on this project. One of those is about $80,000 above the current project amount. We're working with Metro Plan to ensure that they would approve that extra $80,000, of which would cost us about $12,000. I will never presume to speak for the council, but I would guess that if the project only goes up by $12,000, we still do have a project, and there's probably a way we can eliminate something in the project to make it work. So I think we have a project. We just need to figure out that $80,000. Hopefully Metro Plan covers 80% of it. We cover our 15%, and North Little Rock covers their 5%. And if I can't get North Little Rock to cover the 5%, we've got problems. But I don't think that would be a problem. So ultimately, I think that's good news. We took the bids. We have to submit it to the state for what's called a letter of concurrence, where they agree that the entire bid process was done in accordance with federal regs. Waiting back to hear on that, which should be a no-brainer. We sent them $1,000 for a positive letter of concurrence. So, no, just the standard application fee. Assuming we get that here in the next week or two, we'll issue a notice to proceed with the White Oak Crossing roundabout, and we would anticipate having a groundbreaking ceremony shortly thereafter. So good news. We've been talking about that project for a long time. Y'all stay tuned for news about when a groundbreaking ceremony will occur. That concludes. We had the Memorial Day event, and I think that I really found that a meaningful event. But thank you to Parks and Rec for putting that on. Police officers had folks there. The fire department, of course, had the color guard, and overall a great event as usual. We'll go ahead and open the floor for council member comments. Councilmember Williams.
Yes, sir. I wanted to bring up again the fire that happened at, I think it's Millwood Landings is the name of the apartment complex. Thankfully, there was no loss of life. Our fire department did an excellent job. And it's in my ward, and they are literally my neighbors. Calvary Chapel Church, that's right over here where US Pizza used to be, reached out and said that they wanted me to announce that the church is available for anyone who needs some assistance in any kind of way. They will take care of it on a case-by-case basis. They gave me the number of someone to call. If anyone, I don't want to put it out, if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'll be happy to share the number for anybody who's misplaced, who's hungry, who needs anything, to reach out to Calvary Chapel for assistance, which I think is a very neighborly thing to do.
It is, thank you. And just regarding that fire, I think the fire department did a good job. I went out to take a look at it, and people kept referring to Chief Buford, and I said, well, where is Chief Buford? And finally, Chief Pickard points up, and Chief Buford's on the top of the ladder truck looking down. I'm not sure what he was doing up there, but definitely a frontline sort of guy there. So for those that are interested, you can drive by it. For those that don't know where it is, you just go out, make 2 lefts, and follow it around. It's almost a stone's throw from here. And I believe there was 8 units impacted. Thank you, Councilmember Williams. Councilmember Holt?
At the end of the last meeting, I stepped down and talked to Ms. Sousa just for a moment. I would very much like to see a podium or a step place for her to be able to stand up on, to be able to reach the microphone and be more at ease rather than having to stand and stretch her neck It's very awkward for her, and she's a lady of small stature, and I would hope that we don't have to go through a resolution or anything, but could the city not have one of our departments fix something for her to step up on, and maybe when she's not using it, stand it up around to the side or something, but anyway, make it.
Okay, yeah, I didn't realize she was wanting that. But yeah,
Well,
that could be
it
made.
wasn't she was wanting it, it was my suggestion after she spoke and everything, and it just seems to be she's having a difficult time reaching the microphone, and to me, it just seemed awkward, but anyway, it's just a thought.
Sure, I can talk with her. And we do have folks that can make a podium. Same
here.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I've got a couple items. First one is the appointment tonight for the Civil Service Commission. I was actually surprised to see that on the agenda. I guess I missed the fact that we were going to be having that at the meeting. And anyway, I noticed that the lady that applied last time, Kelly Hughes, I believe, was not on there. So I gave her a quick phone call and asked her if she was aware of it, and she said no, she wasn't. And so she said if it's still open, I'll throw my name into the hat. And Miss City Clerk Timmons said the cutoff was last Wednesday. So I was going to make a motion to delay tonight's deal just so she could get her name in the hat, but she said no, I'll just wait till next time. I don't want to do that. So she said she'll throw it in the next go round. So I've saved her number, and I'll call her and remind her once I've heard about it. The other item I had was I'd asked the mayor last meeting what the status was of the 2021 audit, and he was going to check on it. I was curious as to how the annual report's going by, I believe it was being prepared by outgoing Finance Director Mathis. And also the auditors, I was curious about the field work. I had talked to them about 3 months ago, and they said they were waiting on some final data and various things that they had requested to be gathered and provided and for them to come out and do that. So I was curious on both accounts.
The goal was to have everything submitted to the auditors by May 31st, which was the hopeful end of Ms. Mathis continuing to do work with the city. That did not get done. And so she worked on it up to the other day, where she's now on, I believe, a week or two trip to Disney with her kids and band and all of that. And so there will be very little progress made over the next couple weeks. It does not appear as though the original goal was to have something presented to the city council and to legislative audit by the end of this month. And that is very unlikely to occur at this point in time.
Okay. Do we know what percentage the annual report is completed?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know that one of the difficulties that we've had in measuring that, like how close to being finished is that it's not as linear of a process as I would like it to be, simply because oftentimes an issue looks like it can be quick or fairly simple, and then as they're going through it, it turns into a bigger problem or a bigger issue due to a number of factors. So in this I saw with the last 3 finance directors is that it appears as though it'll be really quick, and then you'll run into issues that require you to dig down deeper sometimes, and then the issues you think will be longer don't always necessarily end up longer. I don't have a percentage increase or the percentage completed. I do know that Ms. Mathis's goal was to have it by the end of May, and that was in the middle of May. So, that's with her working part-time in the evening. So she, in the middle of May, thought she was about 2 weeks out from having everything submitted.
Okay, is that all she's working on, is
At
just?
this point, yes, she was also working on payroll, and handling the payroll. That was all successful, and the payroll system, y'all know that we're migrating from Springbrook to UKG. That process was anticipated to be done, I believe, at the beginning of April. And so when we were talking about the amount of work that, Liz would be doing, we anticipated that at the beginning of April, she would be done handling payroll. That ended up not being the case. We are still in Springbrook, and the migrations are occurring, but we officially handed off all payroll, and payroll was done in-house last payroll. And so Liz is on standby if there's additional help needed. One of the reasons we didn't transfer payroll over earlier is because the thought was we didn't want to transfer that over, have people have to learn Springbrook, which is a not very user-friendly system, and then as soon as they learned it, hand it over, because we've migrated over to UKG. As it became apparent that the UKG transition was taking longer, is when they began migrating that over. So she's completely done with that. The only thing that she is working on at this point is the ACFR and the audit stuff for 2021.
Okay, so Ms. Sousa's, it's gone over to her from this point on?
Everything, yeah. The only thing that Liz currently is doing is the 2021 ACFR.
Okay,
and the audit, so.
thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Shin?
This is an issue that we've addressed in the past, but today I met someone for lunch, and we started at US Pizza, and then we drove down all the way down through Savannah, and it's private roads, and we don't take care of those, but they're looking very poorly maintained. There's wild grass and everything everywhere, and he noticed that. Considering he was here looking at real estate, maybe we need to see if we can get something done to help that look better. Yes.
Yeah.
We've fought with that before, I know.
I've spoken with Mr. Grummer about this, and he is, an idea that he has, kind of a project, to get the businesses involved, and the end result of which would be to dedicate those private roads to the city to make them public. So it is, yes, the city is working on that.
And had a problem with solve one, so.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I just wanted to, Chief Buford has left, but,
Oh, I'm sure he's within earshot,
Is he?
running back up any moment here.
but I heard a story, that one of the fire trucks was actually doing a fire inspection at the shopping center right across the street from the apartments when they caught fire. And so when the call came in, all they had to do was go across the street. They were Johnny on the spot. So that may be one reason why there's not more damage.
All right, city attorney comments? City clerk comments?
Super quick. Just reminding you guys about the ARM conference next week. If you've signed up for it, you should have received your confirmation at this point. And then, Councilmember Tierney, you're aware of this, the Planning Commission meeting has been canceled for June.
I'll trade with you.
That's all I have.
All right, if there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Pardon me, who made the motion? Councilmember Holt and then Councilmember Shin. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.